Sports. We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Last night in the opening inning, Todd Frazier got the Reds off and running, clubbing his 11th home run. But after the Braves tied the game at the bottom of the ninth inning, Devin Mesoraco's double down to third baseline plated Michael Lorenzen in a one-run win. Tonight, we see Raisel Iglesias for the second time as a major leaguer as he tries to pitch the Reds to a series win against Atlanta. And it is another picture-perfect night for baseball in downtown Cincinnati, and we welcome you to Great American Ballpark. The decisive game of this three-game series between the Atlanta Braves and the Cincinnati Reds. Hi again, everybody. Alongside the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio. The first time we saw this young man, it was very exciting. Raisel Iglesias threw the ball well against St. Louis, and now we get a look at him round two as a starter tonight.
I thought he really threw the ball well. As a matter of fact, I would use the word electric at some points in time in Iglesias' start. Very intimidating having to make that first start against the St. Louis Cardinals. You look at the AAA numbers, they're not going to blow you away. But then again, this is a guy who was a middle reliever, into the ball game guy in Cuba. Now the Reds are trying to make him a starter. He gets his second start here tonight. In the game against St. Louis, I thought he took the mound with great presence. He looked like he had great rhythm on the mound. He can make the ball do things that a lot of pitchers only hope to do. All different kinds of arm angles, over the top, the curveball, the slider, but that sidearm fastball that he brings back to the outside corner, check it out. Booyah. That is some kind of pitch.
He went the front four in that game of scoreless baseball. He gave up all 3 runs he allowed in his 5th and final inning. His mound opponent tonight is Eric Stoltz. Let's shift gears to something we talked about last night. We know the problems down in the Reds bullpen. But as we discussed last night, for a lot of these guys who have struggled, it's time to turn the page and try to move forward. One of the guys down there starting to do exactly that is right-hander J.J. Hoover.
And I think after looking at what J.J. Hoover had to go through last year, I think there is a sense of urgency, much more concentration in every single ball game that we see Hoover pitch in. I think when he comes into the ball game, it is game on. It's almost as though he's closing the ball game regardless of his kind of inning.
Well, we saw Hoover last night. Diaz has been very good recently. So too for Cingrani. Enjoying the ride is one Brian Pena. Jim Day has that story when we return.
Reds take on the Braves tonight. Tonight, I'm Jim Riggleman, the third base coach. You're the batter. All you have to do is know the signs to get the forecast. It's as easy as that. No problems. Just know the signs, know what to do, and you'll get the forecast. Enjoy the game, everybody. That's Major League Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Tim, thank you. I'm Jim Day on the field. Brian Pena over the last couple of seasons has become a fan favorite because of his personality, because he's got a constant smile on his face, but he also backs it up on the field, and man, he is red hot right now, and he was certainly one of the keys to last night's victory. Had 3 straight hits. He had already recorded a double when in the 7th he came up with that single. And then Marlon Byrd with the sacrifice fly got him home. But the biggest hit of Pena's night came in the 9th. He started that 9th inning rally with a single. They pinch ran for him with Michael Lorenzen. And we know what happened after that. Lorenzen goes first to home on a Mesoraco hit. And Pena celebrates with his teammate. And Pena is our focus in our IGS, bringing the energy. He's riding a 5-game hitting streak. 588 average, and he will be catching another Cuban. Promising rookie returns on Raisel Iglesias, and we're back after this.
By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. And it's baseball time here at Great American Ballpark. The rubber game of this 3-game series. Crystal blue skies above, bright sunshine still hanging around on a perfect day. Temperatures in the high 60s here at game time, and we are set to go. Nick Markakis against Raisel Iglesias, and it's in there. Steer right one, says Corey Blazer, and this one underway. You see the numbers for Iglesias. 4 starts at Louisville. Began the year, of course, with a major league club. Started on that season opening homestand, the final game of it against the St. Louis Cardinals. Not only was it his first major league game for Iglesias, who defected from Cuba and was signed to a 7-year contract last summer, it was his first professional baseball game here in the United States. 1-2 on Markakis. So even though he came about into the Reds organization in a vastly different way than Mike Leake. In essence, he did the same thing Leake did. Signed a professional contract. The following year, first game in the major leagues.
And he straps it on against the St. Louis Cardinals. That's no easy task. And he came out of the gate firing bullseyes. There was no intimidation from this kid at all.
Marquez at 306, 9 runs batted in, and the 2-2 pitch. This guy's not an easy out now. He'll make you work. Didn't miss by much. That fastball at 93 miles per hour. Cowboy, I want to ask you about the arsenal of Raisel Iglesias.
You're going to see curveball, slider, and the fastball, and you'll see it from every different arm angle possible.
And he has walked the first batter of the game after getting ahead at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Let's take a look at the Atlanta Braves starting lineup under their manager Freddie Gonzalez. Andrelton Simmons coming up. Freddie Freeman, their main man at first. Kelly Johnson, Alberto Callaspo, Jace Peterson down at second base. Christian Bethancourt, his first start of the series behind the plate. Maven back in center, and Eric Stoltz is on the mound. The Braves left a whopping 12 runners on base last night. They stranded 11 the night before. And this was a team that came in among the very best in all of baseball of hitting with runners in scoring position. And give the Reds pitchers a lot of credit. They may have pitched into some trouble, but they have pitched a lot out of trouble. Popped up behind the plate. Pena with room, and that'll take care of Simmons for the first out in the inning. Let's take a look at the Reds defensively, presented by Ford. As Jim Day told you, Brandon Phillips had to leave the game last night, re-aggravating a toe injury. With that in mind, Christopher Negron, who started the last couple of games for the injured Zach Cozart at short, goes over to second. And good to see Zach back in there tonight. Freeman, a .333 batter. Was on base 3 times in the game last night. He has 2 or more hits in 6 of his last 9 games. He has a 9-game hitting streak coming into this one. Two and 0. Iglesias just turned 25 years young. He pitched almost exclusively as a reliever in his homeland of Cuba. He beat Freeman on a 2-0 fastball there, and it's fouled out of play, 2 balls and a strike. And Cowboys, you pointed out last night, Iglesias joining what is becoming a very long list, whether it's Tony Cingrani, whether it's Nick Howard, whether it's Michael Lorenzen, of pitchers the Reds either sign or draft and then sign that they are turning into starting pitchers. That one looped into short right, and that's easy for Jay Bruce.
Well, I think sometimes when you're drafting, you're looking at the total athlete. And then with a pitcher, you're looking at the arm strength. Now, a lot of these guys that you just mentioned, they were either closers or back of the bullpen guys in college. And with Raisel Iglesias, he was basically a 7, 8, 9 guy in Cuba. But what the Reds are seeing and what they're projecting are these guys stepping into a starting rotation and using those power arms in that manner. Now, is that easy to do? No, it's not. It takes some developmental time, even though you see Raisel and Lorenzen in the big leagues now. I don't think this is what the Reds projected for 2015. I don't think they projected either one of these guys to be on the big league staff in a starting role, but they're here. And that kind of movement on the fastball, you don't teach that. That's God-given.
Kelly Johnson, a .259 batter, has 6 home runs, 18 runs batted in. He's done a lot of damage against the Reds this season with the long ball. Waves through that pitch. 0-2.
So those are 2 different pitches there. Great manipulation of the fastball. One running away, as we saw previously. Watch this pitch here. It goes straight down, Johnson diving out over the plate, thinking he's going to get a flat fastball running away, and the bottom falls out of it.
Kelly Johnson must have tweaked something, or maybe a contact problem.
May have been his back.
Jeff Porter, their lead trainer, comes out along with manager Freddie Gonzalez. This was the first pitch in the at-bat. Wincing in some pain.
And normally when you see a guy do that and you can see him pressing on the left cheek of his bottom, it is a back issue. I live with that, I can tell you. There's no quick fix for any kind of back issue. When that spasm kicks in, it's on.
See Johnny Gomes with the helmet on, putting the batting gloves on quickly. He'll be walking to the plate with no balls and 2 strikes.
That's just what you want to do. Come out and face a guy with an 0-2 count that you've never seen before, and there's no telling which pitch or which arm angle you're going to get on the next one.
But if there's one guy who's certainly ready, it doesn't mean he'll succeed, but if there's one guy that's ready at any time to do anything you ask him to do, it's Johnny Gomes.
You're right about that. And we gained that knowledge when he was here with the Reds. One of those guys that you hate to see leave.
Yep. And you love to see him when you play. Had a chance to visit with him for quite a while last night and again today. Just such a likable guy. Gamer. Loves playing the game. And is grateful that he's able to play this game.
His enthusiasm for the game is infectious. That's why he's with this young Atlanta Braves ball club.
All right, no balls and 2 strikes. Markakis held on by Votto over there at first. He'll draw a throw. One would assume Gomes will not only back for the injured Johnson, he'll just stay in the game to play left field. Iglesias drops down and runs one high and tight. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Reds come in 1 game under the 500 mark. Atlanta rolls in 3 under. This will be the final meeting between these 2 teams this season. They played 7 times in the last week and a half. Fly ball center, Hamilton there, and a good start for Iglesias. A leadoff walk retires the next 3. Reds are coming up when we return. Remain in the game to play left field after replacing the injured Kelly Johnson a moment ago. Let's take a look at the Reds starting lineup tonight, presented by Meyer. Billy Hamilton, Zach Cozart in the 2-hole, back in the lineup. His first start in this series. Joey Votto will bat third. Frazier, Bird, and Bruce in the middle. They groan for the injured Phillips at second. Pena and Iglesias. Against a left-hander, 1 up, 3 down. The Reds beat him already this year. That's Eric Stoltz.
They beat him. Got a couple of home runs off of him as well in that ball game in Atlanta. He did pitch 7 innings, but the Reds got 6 runs and 11 hits off of him.
The Reds have seen Stoltz as a member of both the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Quickly 0-2 on Billy Hamilton, who checks in at 2-0-2. 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in, was thrown out trying to steal for just the second time all year last night. And he's gone on 3 pitches to open the Reds' first inning. Atlanta defensively. Presented by Ford. Maben back in center. We mentioned Gomes, and Marquez isn't right. Same infield we've seen this entire series, and Christian Bethancourt starts behind the plate. Now Cozart. First pitch swinging back in a lineup, lifts one tailing away from Johnny, and this will be a 2-base hit for Cozart. So welcome back, Zach. Pick right up where he left off. His last base hit, you may remember, was a double in the 9th inning on Sunday to tie the game against the White Sox.
Tom, I'm not sure what Stoltz is throwing here early, but he's thrown 2 pitches at 83, 1 at 85, and the strikeout to Hamilton was 87. And it appears that all of these pitches are fastballs. That's going to be a rough night if you can't get it a little bit more than that.
So now an early chance for Joey Votto. He has had a very quiet series offensively. 0 for 4 in the opener, 0 for 2 with a couple of walks and a run scored last night. And he's down strike 1. Of course, the Reds overall have been very quiet offensively in this series. He had 1 run on 4 hits in the 2-1 loss on Monday night. They had 4 runs on 8 hits in the 1-run victory here last night. And Votto bangs one into center field, a base hit. Cozart going to be waved around. Here comes a throw from Maben, not going to be in time, and the Reds have a 1-0 lead. Jim Riggleman extremely aggressive there. Cozart had to delay to make sure that line drive wouldn't be caught. And you wondered if they would just hold him up, and Riggleman waved him in.
Well, I think part of the job as a third base coach is knowing the speed of your base runner and knowing the kind of turn that they're going to take at third base. And even though Cozart had to freeze, he did have a good turn at third base, and he also had a perfect slide at the plate.
That's a pretty good throw right there by Maben. If that's to the third base side rather than the first base side, it is very close. Now this should be a double play to end the inning, but the Reds do get on the board as they collect their first hit in this series with a runner in scoring position. That's delivered by Votto. 1-0 Reds at the end of an inning. field, Chantal Weaver of Cincinnati will win that Tundra. And guess what? You can register to win that baby. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. 1-0 Reds for Raisel Iglesias, inning number 2. And it's ball 1 to the third baseman, Alberto Callaspo. We talked about it last night. The Reds now in 22 of their games this season, and this is their 34th game. That is an extraordinarily high ratio of scoring first. Where the Reds need to play a little bit better from a percentage standpoint is winning those games when scoring first, which they did last night. But they had to come from behind to win.
Well, if you score first and you do fall behind, at least you don't have so far to come back from.
I was looking up some numbers yesterday when we were talking about this, and the year in 2011 where the Texas Rangers, as that one is hooked to the right side. Now, of course, that was a lineup that would bludgeon people regularly. We had a couple of years there where Hamilton was rolling and Cruz was rolling, and you know they were littered with great offensive players, Adrian Beltre and
Thumpers.
Yeah, but that particular year they won a staggering 79% of the games which they scored first.
That'd be pretty good.
There's strike 1 to Peterson, who's had a nice series. He's got that batting average up to 293. Was on base 3 times, 2 hits, a run scored, stole a base last night. This one in the air, routine from Marlon Byrd. Quickly 2 away. MLB.TV Premium allows you to watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in True HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Blackout and other restrictions may apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Iglesias walked the first batter of the game. He's retired 5 in a row since and looks for a perfect inning as he faces Christian Bethancourt. That's a good looking breaking ball right there. Strike 1. One hopper down to Frazier. Plants, throws. 1, 2, 3, 4. Raisel Iglesias. We've played an inning and a half. Youngster is sharp so far and owns a 1-0 lead. This matchup figures to play well for the Reds when you look inside some of the real numbers, Cowboy. Home runs allowed by the pitcher on the mound, Eric Stoltz. Compared to the major league average, it's very high. And the Reds homering on a per game basis compared to the major league average.
Yeah, I think when you're playing in this ballpark and you've got a pitcher on the mound that is not overpowering, it allows you to have a little bit more patience. You can wait a little bit longer. And I think the Reds figured that out after the first time through the lineup in Atlanta. And now they're facing Stoltz for the second time. And this was one of the guys that hit him a long way. Had one that was right on the track in left field. The other one went out of right center. And that is a long way down in Atlanta.
Stoltz makes his home across the border over in Indiana, in Argos, Indiana. Him and his wife have 3 children. He pitched collegiately at Bethel College in Indiana, where he won the National Christian Collegiate Athletic Association Division I championship. They normally play that event just up the road north of Cincinnati. Nothing at 2 on Marlon Byrd. In the air, left field, drifting back, Johnny Gomes at the wall. Goodbye.
Change up, backdoor cutter. Byrd was sitting on the fastball the entire at bat. He came in with a heater. That's a far one.
Ballpark, it will fly out of here, especially if we start moving into the summer months and the temperatures really heat up. That's not the story here tonight. Marlon Byrd, his 7th home run, and now 19 runs batted in. His power numbers are really starting to climb quickly after a dreadful start.
I mean, that was not a 2-0 fastball. That was an 0-2 fastball that he hit out. That's just a reactionary swing.
Bruce, a 2-hopper down to Freeman, who will feed Stoltz at the bag for out number 1 here in the second inning. Reds with a 2-0 lead.
When you can react as Byrd did on an 0-2 pitch and hit the ball out of the ballpark like that, that should tell you that your swing's in a pretty good spot. You should at least feel good about where you're at from a swing standpoint.
Christopher Negron started at shortstop the first 2 games of this series. He had 1 hit in those 2 starts. Cleveland Indians must have adopted this year for the first time, and I'll have to make a phone call up there tomorrow to double check that for sure. But they have been starting a lot of their games just after 6 o'clock during the week, which, you know, personally I just think is a great idea. But that's just my own personal opinion, having started games at 6:40 during the many years I was out in Arizona. And, you know, you get out of the ballpark, it feels like just so much earlier, even after a 3-hour game, for example. The difference between 9:30 and 10 o'clock. And if you have youngsters with you or you're getting up for work the next day, that's a big deal.
But aren't they doing that because their basketball team is in the playoffs and they're playing at home at the same time they are?
Well, they're not playing tonight, but they've done it a few times. The basketball team isn't playing tonight. The Indians started shortly after 6 tonight. That game is already in the 5th inning, and it's 7:30 at night. The Indians, by the way, have a 2-0 lead over St. Louis. Now, when the summer months hit, maybe they don't do that anymore. But they have done it a number of times already this season during the week. Gone swinging is Negron. Yeah, for those that have not been to Cleveland, well, you talk about a nightmare when you got them going on at the same time as they did last night. Because those buildings are actually connected by a garage.
No place to park. Better get there early.
Ball one to Brian Pena. Had a big night here last night. Made an out on a fly ball to center field his first time up. His next 3 at bats, double, single, run scored, single. They pinch ran Michael Lorenzen for him, and he scored the game-winning run in the bottom of the 9th inning after the double by Devin Mesoraco. And Pena's batting average sits at a whopping .356, and he's playing a lot.
And he has been smoking. When you're hitting close to 600 over your last 5 or 6 games, that's getting it.
And he draws a walk, and look at him sprint up the line there his first time up. We do not know much at all about Iglesias as a hitter. You were given his pitching statistics in 11, 12, and 13 when he was pitching in Cuba. There are no statistics on him as a batter. Took a swing there, fouls it away. He's behind 0-2. By far and away the best hitting Cuban-born pitcher in recent memory was Livan Hernandez. Of course, his brother El Duque was an outstanding pitcher. Livan was an outstanding pitcher. Had a great major league career. But he could really swing the bat in addition to get people out on the mound.
He can take you deep. And that's what you don't want if you're the opposing pitcher, because then you got to hear about it forever.
Inning over. Reds get the home run by Marlon Byrd. Reds have scored in each of the first 2 innings, and they lead Atlanta 2-0. And the Reds team batting average certainly has improved as we've moved along in this season. I mean, they had a really tough time getting hits the first 21 games. But more recently, Cowboy, you'll settle for those numbers.
No doubt about that.
And they started out here tonight 3 out of 8. Of course, the goal is obviously to get people on base, but where the Reds really need to get things turned around is once they are on, is finding somebody or bodies to get base hits to drive people in, because as a team, the Reds are hitting 195 as a team with runners in scoring position through the first 6 weeks of the year.
And there's no doubt that the power is there. The power numbers are phenomenal, especially in the home run department.
Look at that breaking ball by Raisel Iglesias to get ahead of Cameron Maybin at 0-2. Well, this young man is so impressive. All the scouts we talked to during spring training that saw Iglesias pitch in the Arizona Fall League, almost to a person, would tell you he was the most impressive pitcher in the Arizona Fall League. And that's where you see all the really top of the line prospects for all the teams in Major League Baseball. And there's another breaking ball to Fan Maybin. First strikeout of the night.
This ball looks like it almost stops as it's coming to the plate and then takes a left turn. Ooh. First time through, when you see a breaking ball like that, more times than not, you're going to miss it.
Now the pitcher Stoltz looks at a fastball strike, and you can see why the Reds are so excited about Iglesias. You can also see why some at least have argued that the way things have gone for so many members of the bullpen, that why not bring this young man up and give him a chance, an inning here, an inning there, give you multiple innings if you had to out of the bullpen. But that's for others to decide what they think is best for this young man and for his future and for the organization. Stoltz gone swinging, 2 out.
I think ultimately, if you had a crystal ball, you'd like for that crystal ball to say, this is a 200 inning guy, and he's going to give us a chance to win every day he comes to the ballpark because of that kind of movement on the fastball. That ball started in the middle of the plate and just took off. And we just saw the breaking ball go the other way. When you can make the ball go left and right from the same arm angle and then change it.
And look at that breaking ball. The first pitch to Markakis at the knees, a strike. Markakis, the only Brave to reach base so far. He walked leading off the game. That was an at-bat that Iglesias let get away from him. He was ahead at 0 balls and 2 strikes and walked. That's not going to happen, he hopes, this time, as he's ahead again, 0-2.
The thing that you look at with Iglesias, at least from my perspective, is he exudes confidence on the mound. Now, I don't know what he's thinking or what's in his heart, but his body action makes me feel really good.
Well, he's retired 9 in a row since walking the first batter of the game. Middle of the third, the Reds have staked into a 2-0 lead.
good, like no pain. So it's I wish I knew why it pops up and not. I don't know, but the good news is it's good to go today.
I'm Jim Day. Zach Cozart on deck as Billy Hamilton leads off, and he says it's the darndest injury he has ever had. He came in on Monday after the trip to Chicago, as we reported last night, and he just could not swing, and woke up today and said he was fine, went through all the drills, no pain whatsoever in that left wrist. And he said last night when he came into pinch hit to bunt, he was actually in the batter's box trying to fake a swing, so Atlanta didn't know that he was up there just to bunt, and he couldn't even do that. But the trainers have told him after further tests that he cannot further injure that left wrist, so that's good news. He's just going to have to work through the pain if and when it pops up, and tonight he feels good.
All right, Jimbo, thank you very much. 2-2 the count on Billy Hamilton, who leads things off here in the Reds' third. They already lead Eric Stoltz and the Braves 2-0. Hamilton struck out his first time up and just pops this one up softly to the second baseman for out number 1. Well, as Jim mentioned, Cozart's first time up tonight. I mean, he didn't waste any time at all cutting it loose. First pitch thrown by Stoltz, he doubled off the left field wall and scored on a single by Votto.
Well, I think when you get hit like that, there's almost a tendonitis effect where the tendons and the ligaments and the muscles around the impact zone, they get inflamed, and that's awfully hard to roll that wrist over. You don't have a whole lot of room in there anyway, and when you play and then you come back and then you sit, it has a tendency to kind of inflame a little bit. The treatment and the medicine make it go down. Maybe that's just something that Cozart's just going to have to work through over a period of time.
Oh, and 2 to Cozart, and slammed right at the third baseman for the second out of the inning.
That wrist is feeling good tonight.
Yeah.
Fastball up and in, and Cozart gets right on top of it. Well, that's textbook swing on a high fastball.
Joey Votto with a run-scoring single to center field, and as we mentioned at the time, it was the first hit in this series for the Reds with a runner in scoring position. They had been 0 for 10. 1-2 to Votto. Votto's now reached base safely in 28 of the Reds' 34 games this year in which he's played.
You know, there's so many times as a batter you're trying to catch up to a hard fastball. Well, in this ball game with Stoltz on the mound, you actually have to slow things down a little bit. He's throwing below hitting speed, so you've got to make that adjustment not only with your swing but with your eyes, and sometimes that's a real difficult change to make. Easier to speed up than it is to slow everything down. I still believe the toughest thing for a hitter to do is to wait. Now, granted, trying to hit an Aroldis Chapman 104-mile-an-hour fastball is no easy task either, but that changeup is devastating.
And that one smoked into right field, a base hit by Votto. He's 2 for 2 tonight. So this Reds' third inning will continue for the third baseman, Todd Frazier.
You see Votto really wait a long time on this pitch inside. Frazier's got one thing on his mind right here, boys. Swing hard, finish high, see how far I can hit.
And that's exactly what he did. The only pitch he saw his first time up, he swung really hard on a pitch away from it. And as you mentioned, was so far out in front of this lighter speed delivery and velocity from Stoltz that he hit one right at the second baseman for a double play. Two and 0.
I think for a hitter sometimes it's difficult to make yourself believe, even in the second at bat, that this guy doesn't have something that he can fire right in on my hands and bust my bat. Because no hitter wants to get their bat broken.
Straight away center field. This has a chance. It will go. Frazier with his National League leading 12th home run of the season. He's homered in back-to-back games.
Almost the same pitch that we saw Frazier cue shot at second base his first time up. This time he waits a tad longer and it ends up 400 and something feet away from the last one.
Frazier technically is in a tie once again with Bryce Harper, who has just been knocking the cover off the ball himself of late. Another 12 for Frazier. 9 of them have come with 2 outs in an inning. Liner to third. That'll end the inning. 3 consecutive scoreless scoring innings, I should say, for the Reds. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 on the Frazier home run in the third. It adds up to 4-0.
Is extended to 4-0 over the Braves here on Fox Sports Ohio. 30 minutes before every game. It is Reds Live, the pregame edition. It's brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Everything you need to know to get ready for that day's game. I'm Jim Day. Let's update you on Brandon Phillips, not in the starting lineup tonight. He injured his toe Monday night during the game. Now, he came to the park yesterday, and Brian Price did not know about this injury till mid-game. And it was bothering him throughout the game and progressively got worse to the point where he was taken out of the game when he was due up second in the inning, where Price just said he simply couldn't put him out there because he couldn't push off that foot anymore. Well, with meeting with trainers today, he has been diagnosed with turf toe, which, if anyone knows anything about turf toe, it is a very painful injury, but he is listed as day-to-day.
And I am often reminded whenever I hear about a diagnosis for turf toe, and you obviously hope from a severity standpoint it's nowhere close to some of the other players in the past that have suffered from that diagnosis. but one of the toughest men to ever put on a uniform in the history of sports. Jack Lambert, middle linebacker of the Pittsburgh Steelers, had to retire from the NFL because of turf toe.
Dizzy Dean blew out his arm because of the same deal, same toe issue.
It sounds like one of those injuries when you hear it, you know, some people say, oh, come on, turf toe. Well, some pretty tough guys have had it, and it's caused major problems. Fly ball to Hamilton in center, and Iglesias is just cruising. He's retired 11 straight since walking the first batter of the night. Don't forget, on Friday night, be part of the Reds fan cam with our buddy Mo Egger from over at 700 WLW at the Holy Grail. The fun gets started Friday night at 6. That's right on the Banks. You'll answer Reds trivia, a chance to win prizes, and who knows, maybe be a part of Reds Live. 2 down for Johnny Gomes. Fastball, strike one. You know, you take away the 4 balls in the at-bat to Markakis to start the game, and right now the strike to walk ratio since then would be 28-10. 29-10.
Yeah, I think anytime you get called up from the minor leagues and you make a start, I don't care if you're 25 or 35. It's a little bit of anxiety that first batter, because you don't want to go back. You want to stay here. Wow, that'll keep you here.
Third strikeout, third straight 1-2-3 inning, 12 in a row retired by Raisel Iglesias. Boy, he's got everything working here tonight.
Bridge, downtown Cincinnati, the Queen City in all its glory, and a glorious scoreboard so far. Reds 4-0 over the Braves. Offense working, and Raisel Iglesias dealing as we speak on a picture-perfect weather night.
Boy, it is ever. Wow. Expecting more of the same, I guess, tomorrow night. Opening game of the series, a defending World Series champion San Francisco Giants come to town after going forever, and I mean forever, from the time they moved to San Francisco in 1958. They had never won a World Series up until 5 years ago, and now they've won 3 of the last 5.
It's pretty solid.
We understand that game going on in Cleveland where the Indians are leading the Cardinals 2-0 in the bottom of the 6th inning. Corey Kluber, the Cy Young Award winner from a year ago, who has not won a game this season, is throwing a no-hitter through 6 innings. And through 6, he has struck out 13 batters and not walked one. The only base runner was when he hit a batter. Two-two to Jay Bruce. On the ground to Peterson. 1 out. Well, speaking of the Giants, don't forget on Saturday, the first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Johnny Bench Stars of the Queen City bobblehead presented by John Morrell. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to reds.com/tickets. Should be a big weekend here at Great American Ballpark, starting a little early on a Thursday night tomorrow.
You mentioned Corey Kluber. He's had a tough time with Yan Gomes not being behind the plate. Yan Gomes being the Cleveland Indians' normal catcher. He's been out and is going to be out for some time.
That was a team, the Indians, that I believe it was Sports Illustrated, if I'm not mistaken, that picked the Indians to win the World Series this year. Now, only 31 games into the year. But the Indians have only won 11 times. Fly ball to right. 2 out. And when you're Cy Young Award winner, whatever the reason is, when he's 0-5, the rest of the team figures to struggle.
No doubt about that.
So that means tonight, at least so far, through 6 innings in Cleveland and 4 innings here in Cincinnati in the Buckeye State, the visiting teams do not have a single hit.
Well, you'd have to believe that Kluber has found something, whether it be mechanical, release point, whatever it may be, that has put him back in a good zone.
That one driven into right center, but Markakis will run it down. And the Reds scoreless for the first time in an inning tonight against Eric Stoltz. They lead 4-0. Sports Ohio brought to you by Meyer. By your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. Fountain Square, downtown Cincinnati. Beautiful night. Big crowd hanging out. Of course, they'll fire up the live music acts now that the spring, close to summer, is upon us. Big story so far tonight. The second career major league start and appearance by Cuban-born Raisel Iglesias. He walked the first batter of the game. He has retired 12 in a row since.
And it's not just the fact that he has retired the 12 in a row. It's the fact that he's been pitch efficient doing it.
This will be his 48th pitch of the game. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Alberto Callaspo. From a body standpoint and from a windup standpoint, he certainly is very, very similar to a name we brought up earlier in Orlando El Duque Hernandez.
All the way from the way he holds his glove and looking in for the sign, and then the leg kick. Very similar. Put together a career like El Duque. They're on the right track.
Well, he walks Callaspo, ending a string of 12 straight retired. Leadoff man aboard. Coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. Leadoff man on for Jace Peterson. And it's ball 1.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this earlier, Tom, but with Christopher Negron playing second base after having played shortstop the last couple of ball games, the ball comes off the bat a little bit different. It's a little bit, it changes the way that you see the ball coming off the bat. It affects your range and your ability to get to the baseball. And we're so used to seeing Brandon Phillips over there, who catches pretty much everything between second and first base. I think you take anybody that can play short and second and still be able to read the ball on contact. Got a pretty good utility player.
Well, all of a sudden, Iglesias needs a compass to find the strike zone. Now remember, his first major league start, his only major league start before this one, he went 4 scoreless innings against the St. Louis Cardinals. In the 5th inning, they touched him up for 3 runs. There's a strike, 3-1 on Peterson.
I think the thing for Iglesias is when you start to feel the fatigue, you have to push through it and continue to be aggressive in the strike zone.
That's the first hit. Or is it? It's not. What a play by Kozai.
How did he catch that?
He turned one way, came back the other way, and what a play by Kozai.
That's the kind of play for a young pitcher. You turn around, you think, oh man, and then in the same breath, in the same thought, you think that is a big league play. That's what they do in the big leagues. That was a test of the wrist of Cozart there, because he landed right on it as he made that catch.
Certainly Iglesias appreciative of the effort. He comes right back with a fastball, knee high on the outside corner to Bethancourt. What a play by Kozai.
How did he get his body back around to make the catch? He turned to his left and then had to continue the pirouette and backhand dive.
And those are the little things, again, that we talked about in relation to Brandon Phillips and the backhanded pickup he made, moving to his right and charging the other night. When you watch these athletes day after day, year after year, it's some of the plays like the Phillips play or what you just talked about, in the ability to turn one way, get your body turned the other way. I mean, if any of us schleps out there tried that, I mean, you'd look like you were stumbling out of a watering hole at 2:30.
Well, it's body control and not panicking as you're moving towards the ball. There never seems to be any panic on a ground ball, regardless of where it's hit, between Brandon Phillips and Zach Cozart. It's almost as though they know they're going to catch him.
0-2 on Bethancourt. down the right field line towards the corner. Foul. Even the ball boy, a Gold Glove winner. That's what I mean. They even have athletes as the bad boys around here.
Well, if you're wearing a Reds uniform tonight, you don't want anything dropping.
Two. Struck him out swinging on that breaking ball, and that is the fourth of the game by Raisel Iglesias. 2 out.
Check this slider out. Straight over the top, and the bottom falls out of it. Ball looks like it's going to come back to the outside corner as the fastballs did, but that one takes a turn the other way.
So now Maben, who struck out swinging his first time up, digs in with a runner at first and 2 out. And he got what he got the first time, and that's that breaking ball. It moves about 3 feet.
When you've got a hitter like Maben at the plate who seemingly is swinging for the fence every pitch, you just don't want to leave something on the heart of the plate. You either go way in or you go way away.
Oh.
That'll get in your head right there. You swing at one that's a foot outside and then he paints with that one. Well, I'm just going to have to swing with whatever he throws.
0-2 on Cameron Maben. Came back with another breaking ball. Got a little bit of the plate, but it's popped up into foul ground and out of play. We were talking about El Duque, Orlando Hernandez, and he came to the United States as a much older man. He pitched for a decade in Cuba before he finally defected and made his major league debut in 1998, already in his 30s. Pitched for 11 seasons, won 90 games. Had to sit out 1 year entirely with an injury. Broke in with the Yankees. Pitched near the end with the White Sox, Arizona, and the Mets. Strike 3 called. That'll end the inning.
That's a paralyzer.
Certainly El Duque, I would bet money he's watching this young man tonight.
T-Mobile game changer, and the Reds have been getting ahead early, and they've been winning late. Wins and last at bat. National League leaders with last night's walk-off victory. The Reds now with 6 wins in their last at bat. That is tied with the Giants and Nationals for the best in the league, and it's that guy right there, Devin Mesoraco, and you got to feel good for him, struggling through this hip injury and even struggling as a pinch hitter, but last night finally getting in the act. And this is a guy that is not only a fan favorite, but they love this guy in the clubhouse, and everyone was so happy for Devin last night.
The Reds have really missed his bat and the thunder in that bat. And you heard him in the interview last night after the game right here on Fox Sports Ohio. He feels like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully he's right in terms of getting him back on the playing field behind the plate defensively. Now, after the Reds finish this homestand for 4 games against the Giants, they will go on the road to American League cities where, of course, they have a designated hitter. Kansas City for 2 games, Cleveland for 3, and there is a sinking liner caught out there by Marquez. Hey, it looks like he's got a pretty nice swing up there.
He's going to try to shoot the ball the other way. He hit that one right on the barrel. I think Iglesias, you could see the smile as he came back into the dugout. I think he thought he had his first big league hit right there. Give me that ball.
Billy Hamilton is struck out and popped up to the second baseman. That ball is smoked, and we're off to the races into left center field. Hamilton on his way to second base, and he will sprint to third. And the throw not going to be in time. Man, can he run?
And you hear it all the time. Run, Billy, run. There's a reason for that. I would refer to that as a low fly. As you made that call, Tom, Hamilton's thinking in his mind that's a triple. I mean, there was no slow up in him in any way, fashion, or form.
I had roughly from the time he made contact, and this is not an official scoring time, but just looking at my watch here in the booth, that it took him less than 11 seconds from contact. Now, on contact, you're not running, to go from home to third.
He doesn't need a clutch to get from first to fifth. I mean, his second, third, and fourth gear, he doesn't need those because he just goes from start to boom.
2-1 to Cozart, infield in. Zach has hit the ball very hard twice tonight in his return to the lineup. They doubled off the left field wall in the first inning, scored on the single by Votto, and then lined out right at the third baseman Callaspo in the third. This will bring in another run, and this one is caught. Boy, that's a nice play out there by Cameron Maybin. Tagging and scoring is Hamilton. Give Cozart his 16th run batted in, and the Reds with a 5-0 lead. Cozart is really stinging the baseball again tonight.
When Maybin went back, I thought that ball was going to hook back over his head. But that last little lunge he made, pretty good play because he was playing awfully shallow.
That is a real good play. By the way, the no-hitter by the board up in Cleveland. Johnny Peralta singles with 2 outs in the 7th inning, breaking up Corey Kluber's no-hit bid. Kluber in 7 innings has struck out 16 St. Louis Cardinals. And that's still a tight game.
National League Central might want to get that tape.
2-0. Cleveland in front of St. Louis. Cardinals have the best record in baseball. Joey 2 for 2 tonight. Pair of singles, 1 to knock in a run. And he has scored a run. Peterson to his right. And that'll do it. Reds have scored in 4 of the front 5 and lead by 5. Ohio, then stick around afterwards for Reds Live. Brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. Jim Day tonight will be perched in his second residence, the Fox Sports Ohio condominium, where he's tight with all his minions, as he likes to say down there. All right. Iglesias has walked 2 batters in the game. First pitch swinging liner. Hamilton tries to dive and get it, but it's a base hit for Eric Young Jr., the pinch hitter for the pitcher Stoltz. And for the first time tonight, the Braves have a base hit.
Looked like he caught that one right off the end of the bat, and even with the speed of Billy Hamilton, couldn't quite get there in time. Okay, Hamilton did a pretty good job on the dive of keeping that ball in the glove.
All right, so the Braves have a base hit. It comes from a leadoff man, the pinch hitter Eric Young Jr., to start this 6th inning. Iglesias has just thrown his 67th, 68th pitch now coming up. It's ball 1 to Marquez, who has walked and grounded to second base. You know, you look at the pitch counts for Iglesias down in the minor leagues after he threw 76 pitches in his major league debut. He's gone 73, that's 5 innings, 73, 4 1/3. By far his longest outing was 7 innings the early part of this month, the 2nd of May, went 7 innings through 95 pitches. And then his last start, most recently on the 8th, 5 innings, 75 pitches. So really, compared to where he normally is, he's right in that same neighborhood, 70 something, right around the 5th, now the 6th. They are keeping a very close, watchful eye on the number of innings Iglesias will throw this year. The same old true for Michael Lorenzen. Even more so, though, in Iglesias' case, because he has not pitched competitively since 2013.
Over the long of a season. He did have that Arizona Fall League, but that's the only time. That was only about 6 or 7 games. That's it. And normally when you see a little bit of fatigue happening with the pitcher, the ball tends to elevate. That's what we're seeing right now. Tell you what, earlier on, those arm angles, they can really mess you up as a batter.
3-2 on Markakis, runner at first. Going on the pitch, and it's ball 4. So the first 2 Braves have reached to start this 6th inning against Raisel Iglesias.
Starting to see a little bit of fatigue from Iglesias, but early on in this ball game, that high 3/4 delivery. Watch where this ball goes. Up and in to Andrelton Simmons, and he hit it off the fist. Now the drop down fastball. This one starts away, comes back over, and still jams Johnny Gomes. The next at bat, he drops down in the same spot. Oops, it goes the other way.
Guys in a truck dialing up Fox Vision for the Cowboy.
I like it.
Goes to show you a Cowboy can stay current with the times. Fox Vision. High fly ball by Simmons will back up Bird. And that's out number 1, and the runner stay put. The producer of Reds Baseball tonight is Brian Hunterman. Our director, Roy Alfers. Our associate producers, Matt Sigafus and Lauren White. Reds Live produced by Ken Weaver. Our coordinating producer, Bob Pennell. Our executive producer at Fox Sports Ohio is Tom Farmer. And the general manager at Fox Sports Ohio, Mr. Francois McGillicuddy. Ball 1 to Freddie Freeman. And as always, we thank those up here that we work most closely with in the booth. Joe Luck up on stats. Jesse Jackson has been here seemingly forever. Likewise for Dickie Moss and Jim Strickland. In the air, right field. Playable for Bruce. 2 out.
First changeup of the night that we've seen from Iglesias, and he gets it right off the end of the bat of Freddie Freeman. Freeman was out there trying to hook that fastball out of the ballpark, and he catches it right off the end of the bat. Watch that front shoulder of Freeman. It opens, and the ball's not quite there yet. You can see this ball sinking away. Caught it right off the end of the bat. Tough to hit it out on a pitch like that.
All right, 1 more out to go now for Iglesias here in the 6th. Young tagging up, advancing on to 3rd on that fly ball to right. They're on the corners for Johnny Gomes.
Tell you, this kid Iglesias competes a little bit now. I'm telling you, he's running out of gas, and he's still got his foot on the accelerator.
Straight up in the air, and Iglesias is going to work through 2 on and 1 out, 2 on and none out to retire 3 in a row. 6 shutout innings of 1-hit baseball for Raisel Iglesias.
Todd Frazier. If you're just joining us, he belted out a 2-run home run, his 12th of the season. And these are stats through the Reds' first 34 games since 1914. Look at the elite companies in Kluszewski, Pinson, Perez, Benz, now Frazier, Dunn, and Eric Davis with the Reds' record in 1987 with 15 home runs through 34 games. So Todd Frazier off to a long ball kind of start. He is your steel power tool performer, and Boise steps in for another hack.
And he'll be facing a young man the Atlanta Braves are very, very excited about. Now he's making his second major league appearance. He just made his major league debut on Friday night against the Washington Nationals, and that's Williams Perez. They brought him up on Wednesday, where in 5 starts this year he had a 1.3 ERA. Rather unorthodox delivery.
Yeah, really long and rangy. He'll pause at the top of that windup, a la Johnny Cueto, every once in a while before he comes to the plate. You see the sinking fastball there and the 2 different breaking balls that he threw on pitch 1 and 2 to Todd Frazier.
Hard hit ball back through the middle. They had it played that way. 1 out. We invite you to take advantage of a great deal the Reds are offering this Thursday through Sunday. The Reds 4 for $48 ticket package. That's thanks to Reach Savings Magazine. So for $48 you get 4 tickets to a game, any of the 4 this weekend, and you receive 4 Reds hats. Visit Reds.com/4448.
I think the Braves see this kid, Williams Perez, as a starter in the future. Now they're using him out of the bullpen at the moment. The Braves have already moved the veteran Trevor Cahill to the bullpen. And if there was a spot to take, it would be the starter tonight, Eric Stoltz's spot. But when you bring up the youngsters, you got to do something with the veterans.
You know, we talk about all these young pitchers the Reds are using this year. They have 3 rookies, including Iglesias, in their starting rotation right now. The Atlanta Braves have had 6 pitchers this year make their major league debut. The 6th member of their bullpen. John Cornely, Brandon Cuniff, Sugar Ray Marimon, I love that name, Cody Martin, and Andrew McKirahan. He might be my new favorite player, and I don't even know the dude.
Sugar Ray Marimon.
Man, I like that name, Sugar Ray. He is from the Cartagena, Colombia. There's ball 4 to Marlon Byrd. Marlon a home run and a line out to third, so he's on base for the 2nd time tonight. We saw the numbers a moment ago. It was an ugly major league debut for Perez. 4 runs in just 1/3 of an inning. Of course, he's was facing the team right now that it doesn't matter who they're playing. They are knocking the cover off the ball right now, and that's the Washington Nationals. In fact, the Nationals scored 4 runs in the top of the 9th inning to beat Arizona 9-6. That is their 7th win in their final at bat, and a lot of those have come lately. Reds will see the Nationals at the end of this month right here at Great American Ballpark over a weekend series.
is some semblance of adjustment for a guy that has been a starter his entire career, especially for this kid, and pitching so well at Gwinnett. As a starter, you come to the big leagues and all of a sudden you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I get ready in the bullpen? How do I have to hurry, or do I know I'm going to get a couple of innings? Am I going to get my regular 30 minutes where I can stretch? No. You got to figure it out on the fly.
Well, you did that, right?
I did. Those first few outings weren't real pretty. They were a little difficult.
You got to live and learn.
Hey. If everybody,
you'd rather be pitching here than in Gwinnett.
There's no doubt about it. I'd rather fly on the planes than ride on the bus any day of the week.
Really? I just read the story the other day. I missed the story until I read it the other day about this plane the Marlins bought.
Yes.
Did you read about that?
I did.
Gone swinging, Jay Bruce. 2 out. You know, they spent, what, $325 million, something like that, on players during the offseason. On, you know, John Carlin Stanton alone. And then they go out and they buy, apparently, this brand new plane. They gut the entire thing. And every seat, you know, naturally is first class for all the traveling party. And apparently, I mean, there's training tables on this plane.
Massage therapist.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if we can maybe get a tour of that baby.
That's my kind of flight right there. I don't want a tour. I want to fly on it. I want to lay on that table.
I mean, now that's traveling.
No doubt. Can you imagine? Please buckle your seatbelt except for row 3 and 4 on the massage tables. You'll be all right. Get that spot right there, right there. Now that is first class.
Well, if the Marlins don't start winning a few more games, they might be on a Greyhound with wings, because right now apparently it's not paying any dividends to that club at all. They're 15-19. They've lost their last 3 going out west to play the Dodgers.
Well, that is another club that has to get its bullpen in order.
I believe the Marlins are off today. It's rather odd you would get a Wednesday off. No, they're in Los Angeles. I'm sorry. I saw out there that Colorado is in Los Angeles. That's in Anaheim. They'll wrap up that series tonight. And then the Marlins will fly all the way to Miami and take on these Atlanta Braves after an off day mañana. Three and 2 on Negron. Three-two pitch, and it's ball 4. Second walk of the inning by Williams Perez, and here comes Brian Pena, who for the first time tonight will bat left-handed, where he had 3 hits last night. He has walked and lined out to right tonight. If you're wondering, there's no one getting loose in the Reds bullpen, and when your pitcher's working on a one-hat shutout, why would there be? Was still a very manageable pitch count. Iglesias already standing in the on-deck circle with a helmet on.
And I think that also has a little bit to do with the fact that you're winning 5-0. You can afford to push your starter a little bit extra.
One of the areas where managers really pay a lot of attention is to off days, and for multiple reasons. First and foremost is your pitching staff. Where are you, and where are you leading up to off days? Where are you coming off of off days? There's a bouncer to short, and the inning is over. Iglesias will get the ball in the 7th with a 5-0 lead. Reds had a 1-0 lead in the first inning when Marlon Byrd led off the second with a home run to left, his 7th of the year. The Reds would get 2 more the very next inning. Todd Frazier matching Bryce Harper for most home runs among all National Leaguers, clubbing number 12. The Reds got another run in the 5th. But my, oh my, the work tonight, Cowboy, of the 25-year-old Cuban, Raisel Iglesias.
And I think what we're seeing tonight is a little bit of change in mental philosophy for the youngster Iglesias. Got to that 4th inning, even though the velocity wavered a little bit, he continued to push on and make pitches instead of trying to do too much like he did in his start against the Cardinals early.
Callaspo, Peterson, Bethancourt due up here in the Atlanta 7th inning. Callaspo is grounded out to second base and drawn a walk. Iglesias has walked 3, fanned 5, and allowed just the 1 base hit, a pinch hit single, to begin the 6th inning by Eric Young Jr.
And I think if you're a young pitcher and you come to the big leagues, as Iglesias is here, you want to make the decision awfully difficult for those that make the decision on whether you should stay or whether you should go back down. And I would say that Iglesias is making a case for himself right now to stay right here.
But then, of course, Cowboy, something you said earlier, when somebody stays, somebody goes. And we're not going to sit up here and play general manager. That's for Walt Jocketty and his staff to make those decisions. Now, fans at home, I mean, they're throwing stuff at the television saying, are you kidding me? I can think of a whole laundry list of them you might want to think about sending out. Based on some of the tough struggles, especially in the Reds bullpen, that has happened this year. But we talked last night. Some of those guys now all of a sudden are quietly starting to put together some nice outings. JJ we talked about. Jumbo.
Tony Cingrani.
Tony Cingrani has been very, very good. So
it's a good problem to have. You want to be able to bring guys to the big leagues and have them pitch as Michael Lorenzen has pitched, as Iglesias is pitching here tonight, and as DeSclafani has pitched. I mean, that's what you want. When you bring guys to the big leagues, you want them to be aggressive. You want them to feel like they belong here, and you don't want them to feel intimidated. I don't think this kid on the mound is intimidated any way at all.
Well, the stuff is already, it looks better here in the 7th than it even did to begin the 6th. Forget the hit, forget the walk. Some of that crispness appears to be back in his stuff in this inning. That's popped up and out of play, and he's ahead 1-2. we talk about all the rookies in the Atlanta bullpen. What about in the Reds starting rotation? They had 2 rookies with 10 or more starts in 2010. They won the division that year. 3 rookies with 10 or more in 2001. This will be out number 2 in the 7th inning. Iglesias is the 3rd Reds rookie to get a start already this year. And of course, DeSclafani and Lorenzen right now are fixtures in that starting rotation. They'll both get to 10. Good Lord willing, no injury, now that kind of thing. The question is, does Iglesias get some opportunity as we move on? This is a 1-2-3 7th inning for Iglesias. 89 pitches and working on a 1-hit shutout through 7. Whoa.
Ohio. I'm Jim Day. We told you yesterday Sean Casey's one of the participants coming up in July in the Celebrity Softball Classic here at Great American Ballpark. And this is video from MLB Network in which Sean Casey, he had never played softball before, so he took Lauren Shahadi, who used to play softball, one of his broadcast partners, and went into their demo room because he wanted to see the trajectory of a softball being pitched. And that was a wiffle ball, by the way. And he hit it right back up the middle and glanced off her head. And in pure Casey fashion, he said he was carrying her off to the EMTs. And I text Casey about this today, and he said, "I can still rake, brother." I'm giving you the translation, but that's what he texts back. But Lauren is okay, by the way. That was a wiffle ball, and it glanced off of her head.
How about this? Iglesias is going to bat to begin this 7th inning. Now, whether or not he comes out on the mound to begin the 8th inning remains to be seen. The Reds have a 5-0 lead as they bat here in the last of the 7th. Iglesias has not even reached 90 pitches yet, one short. And we told you he's thrown as many as 95 in a 7-inning outing at Louisville 2 starts ago. When you talk about a decision on a starting pitcher, how about this? The Cleveland Indians lead the St. Louis Cardinals 2-0. The Indians are batting in the bottom of the 8th inning. Corey Kluber, the reigning Cy Young Award winner in the American League, has struck out 18 batters in the game. One of 5 pitchers ever to strike out that many batters through 8 innings. Randy Johnson did it 3 times in his career. As Billy Hamilton shoots one into left center field, and Billy Hamilton with a 2-hit night. That's good to see. But You know, Cowboy, I'll put you on the spot. You're Terry Francona. Your team's hurting for wins. You're trying to get your Cy Young, your #1 horse, his first win of the year. You're trying to hold off a Cardinal team 2-0. He has 113 pitches through 8. Are you running him out there for the 9th?
I send him out there for the 9th with my closer loosening in the bullpen. If a batter gets on, he's done. It's that simple.
We'll let you know what happens when the Cardinals come to bat. Cleveland with 1 out, now 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning and a 2-0 lead. Cubs and the Mets scoreless in the 3rd. Philadelphia 3-2 advantage over the Pirates. Bottom of the 6th inning in Philly. Reds have 7 hits. They've hit 2 home runs. Hamilton has 2 hits. Cozart returning to the lineup. A hit, a run scored, and a run batted in. You've got Votto, who's hitless in the series. He has 2 hits and an RBI. Frazier a home run. Bird a home run, has also walked. And marvelous pitching by Raisel Iglesias. It's been a good night so far.
Let's go back to that question you just posed to me. There are a lot of folks out there that would say, well, don't you want your closer to have a clean inning? If you're my closer and you can't pitch with a runner at first base or on base in a 2-0 ball game, you're not my closer.
Double play ball will end the inning. We're off to the 8th. 5-0 Red Legs. Rangers and Capitals. We'll have full highlights and analysis from both games, playoff games in the NBA. One of them underway already, Atlanta and Washington. And you can see Fox Sports Live tonight on Fox Sports 1 and simulcast on Fox Sports Ohio. Seven innings of 1-hit shutout baseball in just his 2nd major league start for Reds right-hander, who defected from Cuba a little more than a year and a half ago. Signed a 7-year deal for the Reds. Made his first start the first week of the season. He's been in the minor leagues since. And because of the rainout on Friday night in Chicago, forcing a doubleheader Saturday, the Reds knew they needed a starter for this game here tonight. They selected the right guy. 8, 9, and 1 in the batting order. 0-2 on Cameron Maybin, who has struck out swinging and been called out on strikes. You know, you look over this game, and the Braves have not even hit a ball hard in this game. Their base hit was just a little flare into center field. It was a clean hit.
Right off the end of the bat.
And still not a hard struck ball. That's a pop up into short right. Negron squeezes it, 1 out in the 8th. And I mean, that's not exaggerating. They have not hit a ball hard against Iglesias for 7 1/3 innings.
The hardest ball that I remember being hit was the one that sent Jay Bruce to the warning track, and that was off the end of the bat with Freddie Freeman hitting a changeup.
So the Braves will go to their bench. Pedro Siriaco. Backup infielder. Swinging a foul ball for strike one. I can hear so many of you right now, right through coming back the other way from your television screens. And even sitting here in the booth, you can't help but ask yourself, what takes place next now for Raisel Iglesias? I mean, this guy has his stuff that you watch it and you're like, this is big league stuff. You've talked a lot about the growing pains of young pitchers, and he will have those. But what will the Reds do with this young man after this outing tonight? That one served into right field. That's a nice piece of hitting. And that'll be all the way to the wall. It gets away from Bruce, and they're going to hold the runner at third base. Something happened down there in that corner.
And it looked like the ball hugged against the wall as Bruce was coming towards the wall. And it just happened to scoot by him.
Scored a triple. So there's a runner at third with one out here in the 8th inning and a strike one to Markakis. We reared back and drilled that fastball in on the hands of Markakis to get ahead 0-2. It's interesting to know the only 2 hits for the Atlanta Braves in this game tonight have come from pinch hitters. Eric Young Jr. in the 6th, and a pinch hit triple by Siriaco here in the 8th. 0-2 to Markakis. Bouncing ball will bring in a run. So the shutout by the Boyd on just a little cue shot down the right field line that scooted by Jay Bruce, and it's a 5-1 ball game. Don't forget this Saturday, the first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Johnny Bench Stars of the Queen City bobblehead presented by John Morrell. 381-REDS. Visit reds.com/tickets or stop by your local Kroger. Select locations. Breaking ball in there, a strike to Simmons. This will be the 100th pitch of the night for Raisel Iglesias, who is 4 outs away from his first major league win. And he has turned in a major league performance tonight. The last time Cuban-born pitchers won games consecutively for the same team in back-to-back games, the name we mentioned earlier, who reminds us, or Iglesias reminds us of him so much, is Orlando Hernandez and reliever Jose Contreras. They won back-to-back games in September of 2005 for the Chicago White Sox. Interesting to note that in that year of 2005, the White Sox won the World Series.
Chapman got the win last night.
That's exactly right. Fly ball left center field. What a night, what a night, what a night for Raisel Iglesias. He's gone 8, allowed 1, and he will be greeted and hugged by Brian Pena as he walks back to the dugout. Well done. Big bright smile, acknowledging the crowd standing and cheering this wonderful performance tonight by Raisel Iglesias with help from the bullpen, with the Reds leading 5-1 as they bat in the bottom of the 8th inning. Raisel Iglesias will get his first major league victory here tonight. Trevor Cahill takes over on the mound. He started this season, of course, in the starting rotation of the Atlanta Braves. Not anymore. Joey Votto put the Reds in the driver's seat tonight, brought to you by Kia. When he delivered their first hit with a runner of scoring position in this series, driving in Zach Cozart with an RBI single, a 2-hit night for Votto. He strikes out to begin the 8th. There's a lot of smiling going on right there with Pena and Iglesias. And there should be. Reds had Pedro Villarreal getting loose, and now all of a sudden he is taking a seat. Tony Cingrani is in the bullpen. Thought we might see Villarreal here tonight. He has pretty much been a forgotten man down there. Really, two guys that you never hear from of late in that Reds bullpen are Villarreal. Now, he hadn't been here very long. And, of course, Burke Badenot.
Well, the question you have to be asking yourself right now, especially after this performance by Iglesias tonight, there are only 5 spots in that rotation.
Well, really, there's only 3. Because there are 2 guys that aren't going anywhere.
Right. With Cueto and Mike Lee. But with the way things have presented themselves here tonight, you can't very well send Iglesias back to Louisville after this performance. Of course, I've seen stranger things, but that would be quite surprising.
So these are the things that, as Frazier draws a walk, that the general managers, those in baseball operations, the field manager, the pitching coach, the coaching staff, it forces meetings sometimes late into the night or very early the next day.
It's a good problem to have. I mean, I'd rather have too much pitching than not enough. I mean, we've seen what not enough looks like. It's not pretty.
But you still have to make a decision.
Yeah.
One way or the other. Frazier takes off for second base and slides in easily with his 5th steal of the year. If they're going to give it to you, you may as well take it. Now the bullpen, especially the big guys in the bullpen, they've thrown a lot of pitches the last 3 days. Chapman's pitched 3 days in a row, 58 pitches. Jumbo 48 pitches 3 days in a row. Sembrani 39. Hoover 31. So there's some guys that, at least for today, knowing that you're going to play 4 in a row through the weekend before you hit that off day on Monday.
And I would venture to say that the bullpen has performed better getting that kind of work than they did when they weren't pitching at all.
It is interesting, though, Cowboy. You know, it's such a fine line, and until one has walked in the shoes of a major league manager, that one in the air to left field, caught by Gomes. 2 are out in the inning. You know, until you walk in the shoes of a big league manager, you know, and let's be Brian Price for a minute here. When you watch what you have watched from your bullpen, the overwhelming majority of this very young season, who in their right mind would say, I got to get those guys some more work?
Well, the problem that you had coming out of spring training is your basic premise was Kevin Gregg and Burke Badenhop and Manny Parra are going to allow me to get the ball to Chapman. Those are your veteran guys. They failed. They weren't able to get the job done. So then you have to turn the page. Okay, well, am I going to pitch my young guys, my youngest guys that I'm trying to ease into this bullpen and into the pressure situation? It's a tough decision to make, but sooner or later you've got to flip the page and say, all right, well, here you go, young fellas, see if you can get it done. And they have.
Broken bat. Bruce thrown out at first base. So here we go in the 9th inning. Reds trying to close it out and win this series and give Iglesias his first major league win.
And now it's time for the flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. Check this fastball out. Sidearm, Laredo brings it back to the outside corner, a 92-mile-an-hour heater from down under. And that fella right there, he has put on quite a performance here tonight.
And you can only imagine what is going through his mind. I mean, it was a year and a half ago where Iglesias made the decision to leave his homeland in pursuit of freedom, capitalism, a chance to compete at the highest level in Major League Baseball, leaving family and friends behind, and now here he is, 3 outs away on this May the 13th, 2015, from winning a Major League Baseball game for the first time. Lined into left field by Freeman against Cingrani. 1 pitch, 1 out. Let's check in with Jim Day.
Yeah, guys, pretty cool moment. Raisel Iglesias at his first start. They obviously got some baseballs from his first strikeout, etc. But they kind of forgot, I think, tonight, in between innings, he came over to the ball boy and said, hey, kind of motions, hey, give me one of those balls out of the ball bag, because he's sensing the moment that he's on the verge of his first career Major League victory, and he wanted a ball from this game, and he came over and got it.
Yeah, you know, he's going to be handed the game ball at the end of the game, but it will be a ball that perhaps he never touched during the entire course of the night. So why not go in there and get one where you did?
I want it all. I want the scorecard. I want the bat that I swung. I'm putting the glove in the case.
Yeah, but see, if you're the superstitious sort, you're not going to be messing around with that glove or that hat or the T-shirt or the underwear or whatever it is you had. It's on again the next time you're on the hill, isn't it?
You got that right. You can book it. May not wash it.
2-1 to Johnny Gomes. Cingrani trying to nail down the final 2 outs in this one. Gomes went around. That is strike 2, so a full count on Johnny. Obviously, with a 4-run lead, no save situation here for Tony Cingrani, the former closer in college at Rice University. And there's strike 3 call. Fastball at 93.
Ball like it cut back to the plate. It's a money pitch right there.
Strike 1 to Alberto Callaspo. Brian Pena, no doubt, on this final out, will be looking for Iglesias right quick to make it official. Johnny Cueto alongside. Cueto knows a thing or two about winning baseball games, but never has Iglesias experienced this feeling here in the United States.
Johnny may be asking him, how do you hold that sidearm breaking ball that's flying out there, making the guys look silly? Might want to add that into my repertoire.
Well, in the land of the free, the United States, so thankful is Cuban-born and raised Raisel Iglesias. His first major league win, 8 innings of 2-hit baseball. Well, you can only wonder what is going through that young mind's spirit right now. What a great feeling.
Sometimes you just can't control the emotion. You just have to let it out.
Well, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. Still a little boys game sometime after all, isn't it?
Brings back a lot of memories. That's some kind of cool right there.
We'll take a timeout. We'll be back with more from Great American Ballpark. Congratulations to Raisel Iglesias on his first major league win.